Have you ever wondered how you can naturally heal from within? Every human being has an auric field or an etheric body of consciousness surrounding their physical body. What we observe in our physical dimension is already the shadow or the consequence of everything that happens on the higher fields of consciousness. So essentially, everything that arises in your physical body can be mapped on an energetic level to help you understand why it is that you manifest whatever physical issue you are dealing with. For example, somebody that deals with many eye issues can easily start to understand how maybe there is an aspect of them that they don't want to be seeing about the world. Though we sometimes look at the physical body as being separate from the energetic field, the two are actually always entangled. And the reason why you experience physical discomfort or physical anomalies is because there's already something on the higher fields of consciousness that you are not addressing, which leads to the lack of coherence on the physical level. The physical issues that we deal with, we usually try to push away from us. We like to separate ourselves from the state of pain and choose to deny the deeper root cause that is arising in our consciousness. But this only leads to more separation. Holistic healing is the art of integrating more deeply into your own awareness to understand the role that you play in the healing process. Where you can become the healer in your own life is the place where you can learn to discover how it is that you manifest issues and see the hints within them to understand where you need to create more balance in your life. This is how a child naturally knows how to operate within their body. The body has a self-organizing and vastly intelligent field of information which is governing all of the activities that are occurring within you. So think about maybe when you last time interacted with a person that made you feel not so good about yourself. Maybe you felt drained by this individual, or maybe you feel like you are attached to them, but you don't necessarily want to be. You can be creating actually rips in your auric field due to you associating with the wrong kinds of people. When we get sick or when we develop a chronic condition, that is often after years of neglect or you not realizing that you are not actually your soul in physical form. To understand how to heal holistically, you need to start to understand how to re-enter a space of coherence, which means rebuilding your energetic field of sanctity, realizing what it takes to achieve balance all the time, to reunify with your own soul and understand how to create that balance across all planes of your consciousness. Be empathetic to your body and see that your body is actually your best friend. You need to learn to befriend yourself with love to understand how to authentically come into a deeper space of harmony, which will end up naturally resolving all of the deeper issues in your life. And so when you start to achieve this state of inner oneness, you start to feel like you are more coherent with all aspects of yourself. You will no longer feel a need to disown any aspect of your inner condition, where when something arises that feels uncomfortable, you actually look to address that instead of choosing to neglect the inner experience. When we often choose to neglect what we are feeling or suppress emotions, when you're constantly dealing with the same kinds of issues, consider that the only reason why those issues are a chronic factor of your life is because you're choosing not to focus on the deeper root cause, where the real mechanism of healing is where you choose to resolve the issue to begin with. So if healing is really a beautiful process of inner unification, why don't so many people know about it or choose to do it? Well, the reason why is that it's not always an easy thing to internalize why the initial root cause arose, and especially because the root cause can often present as a trigger in your external reality. When a trigger arises, you're going to be feeling a very uncomfortable kind of a space within you. That feeling that you're going through when you are triggered is essentially when you're feeling the discontinuity between yourself and what's arising in the external world as a reflection of your subconscious need for healing. When you're confronted with something externally that ends up triggering you, what you're feeling is the resistance to understanding the root cause of that trigger. Essentially, you don't want to be dealing with what you are dealing with, and it's even more difficult to assume responsibility for the creation of that trigger. The last thing that we want is to assume that we are creating the pain in our own lives. The first thing to understand is that pain is actually a teacher of awareness. Your pain that you experience is not an enemy. It's an aspect of your being that is being manifested to show you where you need to focus more on yourself, where the need for awareness and love exists within you. Ultimately, the real blind spot in our awareness is that the real trigger is us. We are constantly triggering ourselves by choosing to not look for the need for healing as something that needs to be done harmoniously within our own sense of being. Where healing can arise is something that we can do every single day, just by realizing that when we feel uncomfortable, when we're not truly recognizing our own needs, our own desires, and who we really are at our core, discomfort comes up as a sign to look more within. And so when you feel triggered, the first thing to do is to actually just pause, to think about why you are currently feeling the way that you're feeling, which is something that most people immediately want to jump over. Most people do not even dare go into their inner world because they're afraid of what they will discover. They're afraid that they don't want to meet their inner self, and that the triggering is going to really be expanded when they choose to look into their soul experience and see where that disunity is occurring. You're going to feel like healing is a very difficult journey, something that takes maybe a lot of time or a lot of patience. But really, healing can happen in a much more spontaneous way. And this is where we look at the root of quantum healing. If you associate healing with pain, it's going to be painful because that is simply what your mind is perceiving about the healing process. People come to a deep realization about why they've been producing the same problems over and over in their lives, why they've been stuck in a chronic state of pain, maybe depression, anxiety, going through anything that they believe is an external attack on them. But then when they realize that they're actually the creator of their own simulation, they can disintegrate all of that resistance altogether, realizing that they can be the source of more positivity, more love, more happiness, and more bliss actually begins to awaken the bliss body of consciousness and lead to the transcendence of all of these deeper roots of unconsciousness in your life. But if you choose to see how healing arises when you decide to awaken yourself more deeply to your own body's condition and see yourself as an energetic being capable of self-transcendence and optimizing yourself by tapping into higher states of consciousness, then you can heal very organically in every moment of you realizing what you're worth in this physical plane. Quantum healing paints a completely new picture on the realm of healing and integration, because it allows you to see that healing isn't something that happens in a linear fashion. It isn't something that takes a long period of time or requires you to unwind or manually unprogram everything that went into your unhealed state of being. It simply means you actually jumping into a higher state of consciousness. There are many people that choose to focus on healing as a difficult journey, and so that leads to their healing being a very, very long path, in which they don't actually focus on becoming this new enhanced version of themselves, rather choosing to focus on everything that is inadequate and insufficient about their physical condition. Start to create a new template for yourself. In order to heal, you need to assume that you need to create a new mindset, a new belief system, a new programming, which means you quite literally need to remanufacture your consciousness to become more equipped to handle health in your future world. Because health is really the state of this constant coherence. Now, to reprogram your mind, you need to start to look at everything that is in your mind that is creating your reality. That means your beliefs, your daily thoughts, your expectations, your programming leading to your awareness about yourself and the world around you. All of these things in the amalgamation of these ingredients is creating the recipe of your inner world. You're not choosing to delete programs in your consciousness because deleting them is simply impossible. Somebody who tries to swipe away their old traumas, difficult memories, or the feeling of the old relationship imprints is going to have a very difficult time with healing. Consider how choosing to create a new program gives you great freedom and opportunity to live life the way that you actually want to be living it. By choosing to reinvent yourself, you're choosing to allow in new possibilities. You're choosing to see the light in the future state of consciousness. You're choosing to see that you can now add in new awareness to allow yourself to be more loving, more present, and more focused on the future of variability. I challenge you to create a whole new program that will actually allow you to fortify your consciousness with what you want to be experiencing. Consider what you need to start to reintroduce into your mind as a positive belief, as a new expectation, something beautiful about yourself that you actually value and introduce into your self-image, so that you can trust yourself enough to start living the life that you want to be experiencing. And doing this will give you the power to actually gain control over your consciousness. Seeing that the world you're experiencing is really just a reflection of your inner world, again gives you the freedom to start to select differently. And see that the precursor to healing is really everything that you didn't once recognize you were able to be doing in this life. See now that inner healing is achieved as soon as you give yourself the right to truly be, to express your true colors and to realize that you can be coherent all the time as soon as you allow yourself to do so. Now let's do some inner healing on our own. For this exercise, I want you to think about a particular aspect of your mental health, your physical condition, or your emotional state that you believe deserves some healing. It can be a specific issue that you want to relieve. In this case, I want you to think about when was the initial time that concern arose. What was happening in your life, mentally, physically, and emotionally, that might have created that issue? Think about the other variables involved, maybe the people in your life that encouraged you to develop that particular condition. Now, as you evaluate the situation, consider where there's space in your inner world that deserves some loving kindness and forgiveness. Consider what you can give to yourself to start to integrate the deeper cause of that issue. Where that awareness arises is where you too find the cause for integration. And inner healing will always emanate from this state of true awareness. Nature has a very healing energy, but we first have to be aware of ourselves to even experience it. Here in Ecuador, I felt very deeply submerged in the natural world, and the healing energy that emanates from the land, from the animals, from the entire environment is something very serene. It puts you in a state of deep inner peace, which is calming, which stimulates the nervous system in a different kind of a way by allowing you to be fully present and connected to the natural world.